Welcome to the desktop of my brand new Raspberry Pi 5. It's February of 2024 and this is a Raspberry Pi 5 4 gigabyte model, and I have installed the operating system on it and updated it as of today, the 28th of February, but I haven't installed any applications yet. So this is a virgin system. Let's work with Linux Air Combat. We're going to download, compile, install, and test out Linux Air Combat and show you absolutely every step that's necessary to do all of that on a virgin Raspberry Pi system. To start off with, I happen to know there are some prerequisites. So I'm going to fire up from the Start menu. I'm going to go to Preferences, Add Remove Software. As usual, we'll make sure that we have got the package list refreshed. And then we're going to make sure we're all up to date. Checking for updates. And that confirms we're all up to date. Next thing, I'm going to search for code blocks. Compiling Linux Air Combat requires some tools, and there are a number of ways to do it. I like to use code blocks because it's a nice GUI, it's well organized, and it solves a lot of problems for you. You can use other development environments or just compile it with GNU CC Plus if you like. But it turns out that Linux Air Combat, the source code comes pre-packaged with a project file for code blocks. So I find on the Raspberry Pi environment particularly this is useful. So I'm going to go ahead and install code blocks. I'll authenticate this action, and it'll download and install code blocks, which doesn't take very long. Once that's done, we'll verify that it's there. And then I happen to know there are two other small little libraries that we need in order to compile it. They're both related to the well-known SDL, or Simple Direct Media Layer software libraries. All right, looks like we've got code blocks. If I go to my Start menu now under Programming, we'll see code blocks is there. That's good. That's the first thing. I'm going to maximize this list, and now we're going to search for SDL. Because they're SDL libraries, we need SDL. SDL has a lot of pieces, and so you're going to get a long list of things, some of which is already installed here, like this one. And the SDL2 stuff typically is already installed. It's right down in here. We want the SDL 1.2 development package right here. Image loading library for Simple Direct Media Layer 1.2 development files. I want that. And I also want the same thing for the mixer, SDL mixer, and that's right around here someplace. Where is that? SDL mixer library it is. There it is right there. Mixer library for Simple Direct Media Layer 1.2 development files. So in order to compile, we need those two libraries in addition to what normally comes. So I'm going to click Apply, and it'll go get those. And it doesn't take very long. They're not very big. And that should do it. We don't need the we don't need to add any more software. So the next thing we need to do is go get the source code for Linux Air Combat. I'll do that by firing up my browser. I've configured this Raspberry Pi operating system for the Firefox browser, but it would be the same if you were using one of the Google products or something. So I'm going to now search for Linux Air Combat. Now this search will bring up a lot of links. There's a lot of information out on the internet for Linux Air Combat, but usually the first link is the one you want. We want to go to SourceForge and do the download, and that happens to be the first one this time, so click. This will bring up a description of Linux Air Combat. You can spend a lot of time here reading it and watching movies and things, but for our purposes now we're going to go right to the download by clicking on Files, and we'll drill into Choose Our Platform, because Linux Air Combat is available for a lot of different computing platforms. Click on Choose Our Platform, and we'll go to the Raspberry Pi area. This is where you'll always find the latest, greatest source code and executables for Raspberry Pi. I'm going to click on this one, the 9.55 APK, and immediately SourceForge will start downloading that into my downloads file. This is a 50 megabyte archive containing all the source code it's got a compiled executable in it, but that's for the Raspberry Pi 4. And so it doesn't work on Raspberry Pi 5. We'll have to compile from source code here. At some point, probably very soon, I'll put up a pre-compiled version for the Raspberry Pi 5, so you won't have to compile it. But for right now, I'm showing you how you can compile it and how I have compiled it. I compiled this yesterday on a different Raspberry Pi 5, and it works, so I know it does. It says 30 seconds left. Once we get this source code, there's one more little piece I want to download. There's an icon, a thumbnail sketch that shows a little airplane, and I happen to know that'll be handy if we ever want to integrate this into my Raspberry Pi menu. So I'm also going to download that before I get off of this website. All right, looks like we've got the archive with the source code, and all of the various pieces of Linux Air Combat are there. We also want to go back to files, and as I said, one last piece. I want to download this little icon. It's a thumbnail sketch of an airplane, and that won't take very long at all. Okay, it's done. We got it. Now I think I'm done with my browser, and having done that, the next thing I want to do is fire up code blocks and try to now we need to de-archive it. So I'm going to fire up my file browser. I'm going to go to my downloads area, and we can see those are the two things we just downloaded. I'm going to right-click on this archive to extract it here. It will de-archive it right here, and that creates my source code tree here. And this then is all the source code to Linux Air Combat, and the easy way to compile this is now to click on the code blocks. Let's see, right here. LAC 9.55 code blocks project. I think that'll fire up code blocks. Oh, it does, yeah. So code blocks will come right up and load the project. You can see all the most important source code files are prominently displayed. All of them are available. It's ready to go. You can see all the source code of main. We can build this easily by clicking build and rebuild. It warns me, says, do you really want to rebuild the whole thing? Yes, I do. Oh, down here we can see the compiling going on as it works its way through the source code. You should get about 30 or so warnings. It doesn't like the style with which I do some of my debugging, so we get a little bit of warning there, but then it'll link together, and it should be done pretty quick here. When that build is no longer gray, then we know it's done. We'll also see a little scrolling down here. Okay, I think we got it. 0 errors, 33 warnings. The build is done. I'm done with code blocks. I can do file, quit. And so now we've downloaded and compiled everything. Next thing I want to do, I'm closing out this file browser. Next thing I want to do is fire up a command console. Click. I'm going to maximize this. Oh, I should have made that. Can I make that text bigger? That's too small to see, isn't it? I think I can. I want to make that text bigger. Edit, preferences. Oh, zoom in. You can do it the hard way. Edit, zoom in. Now you should be able to read that text on your TV if you're watching it. All right, so now I'm going to change directory to, if I do a listing, I can see I have a downloads folder. Change directory to downloads. Listing. I have now that LAC 9.55 folder right here. I'm going to enter that directory with a change directory, cd lac09p55 ls, and there should be an install script right here, which I should be able to run. I need actually be supermuted to sudo /install.sh, and it says it's done it. So a fresh copy of Linux Air Combat has been installed. At this point, I should be able to run it by just typing LAC, L-A-C. Let's see what happens. Cross all fingers and toes. There it is. It's running. And if I click on things, I should be able to, for example, fly a simple mission. Suppose I want to fly the fighter's mission. I'm in a P-51 Mustang. And here we are. I'm using a joystick, but as you can see, it's set for low resolution, kind of low visual quality, and we can tweak all that. But at this point, we have proved that it works. That's just how easy it is to download and compile and install Linux Air Combat. There are a lot of tweaks we can do to make it look a little better, sound better. I'm not hearing any sound right now, but it probably does have sound. I've got it set up to record it, so my volume's set low. We can also merge it into the menu system, so it's easy to find and launch, but all that's for later on. That's it for now. I'm getting out of here. That is how we do that.